Well, hello and welcome to the candy wallpapered upstairs hallway of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers for November 13th, the day of the commentator. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of the commentator. Well, we have us an image of, what is it? Oh, it's a chair and what looks to be a top, or maybe a plumb bob, or perhaps a pendulum, if you like. Now, does that speak to the day of the commentator? I don't know, who's to say? Maybe we'll figure that out as we get on with the reading. But that being said, that's not altogether important in my mind. No, what is important is it's November 13th and it's someone's birthday today. That's right. So if it's your birthday today, I just want to say happy birthday. That's what's important. But I don't know, maybe this video finds you late. Sometimes things often happen in the course of events. Busy individual as you probably are. Hey, no judgment. But if that happens to be the case, I just want to say, I hope you had a happy birthday. That's right. But for everyone else who's just joining us randomly, or more ideally, to celebrate the November 13th birthday, I just want to say hello, welcome, and hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before we get started with the redirect, hey, let's roll some dice. This is the DykASSt, a birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the name's sake and roll some dice. But that being said, we do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. That's right. Here we rolled us a 4 and a 2 for a 6. That's right. Hey, so what is synchronicity? You're probably wondering. Well, it's just you getting out in the world and letting the universe show you it's with you on your path. And you do that with your numbers by using these as like an agreed upon waypost or a sign, if you like. That's right. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled you. Those are just, I don't know, the intentions there for those, for the 4 and the 2 for a 6. But, get out there, get your own pair of dice. Roll your own number. You're going to want them dice anyhow to ascribe directional values to number sets and for time values for how long to go in those directions. But once you get that all figured out, you're going in your direction with your time limit on there. Once you reach the end of that time limit, you stop, compose yourself, and you look for your signs, look for your numbers. But sometimes maybe the numbers aren't there. What do you do then? Well, you look for anomalies. That's right. Maybe, something just comes across your path and it's screaming at you like, hey, I'm here to be noticed. Like, I don't know, maybe some dude in a hot pink shirt. I like to use that one a lot. Maybe he's going up the street this way. And maybe you don't want to go that way. But you know what? Hey, this is the day of synchronicity. That's what's there. You decided that was your anomaly. So you know what? Roll your dice. Figure out how long to follow that individual. Don't worry about creeping. You know what I'm saying? You roll the dice. That should give you enough time to put some distance in between the two of you. But that being said, maybe the guy sees you creeping on him. Hey, you shouldn't be creeping on folks, right? No, just tell him what's up, man. You know what I'm saying? Hey, or lady. Yeah, you just say, hey, look, I'm here doing some synchronicity walking, man. What are you talking about? Maybe you show him this video and he's like, are you serious? You're like, I got the dice here, don't I? I rolled 10 minutes, didn't I? What is it? 6 minutes. And he's like, well, shoot. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to join you. You're like, what, really? You know what? That sounds preposterous, but a lot of times things like that happen. You're not creeping on him. You showed him this video. You had the jurisprudence to I think that's probably used wrong, but you showed him. You did your due diligence. He's got to be convinced, or she. So you know what? He wants to go with it. You say, well, where were you going? What are you talking about? Well, I was following you. And maybe he takes you to a chair shop. That's right. Hey, maybe the day ends up with a little bit of a theme there. And maybe they sell some wooden tops or plumb bobs. I don't know. Unless, depending upon what the store is, maybe it's a pendulum for dowsing. That's right. Like I said, the day can take on a theme, but I think you get the idea. You're just letting the universe show you it's with you on your path and following whatever it throws in front of you and chasing it down with a hunger. That's right. Maybe making some new friends. It is your birthday, so get out there and have some fun. But button up. It's probably cold out there. All right, in any event. Let's get on with the read, shall we? Your month is November. Your day the 13th. Your sign is 20 to 22 degrees Scorpio of the Scorpio III period specifically. And your quality and element is fixed water. All right, November 13th, the day of the commentator. Those born on November 13 are generally perceptive and insightful when commenting on their times. Regardless of what walk of life they inhabit, they often make statements about what is going on around them that attract attention. Everything interests them, but particularly matters of a social or political matter. Whether they cull their knowledge from reading newspapers, or watching TV, or studying historical or sociological books, they tend to have strong opinions about how things work or don't work, as the case may be. A problem for many November 13 people is that they do not put equivalent energy into themselves in terms of self-development and understanding. And because their interests are so outwardly oriented, they run the risk of superficiality. And those who know them may find them outgoing and entertaining, but at the same time, not deeply grounded. However, more highly evolved individuals born on this day make an effort to learn from and internalize their interests, forming a vital bond between their own internal process and the world around them. These latter people are powerfully equipped to advance their cause as fully realized individuals. And November 13 people often find themselves divided between a rational, common sense apprehension of the world, atheists or agnostic, respectively, it says in parentheticals, on the one hand, and traditional religious convictions on the other. And though often strict rationalists in their early to middle years, they may at some point undergo a powerful conversion to spiritual or religious belief systems. And when undergoing this process of conversion, they may not feel it necessary to abandon logic or reason, but to make it work for them in finding ever new support for their beliefs. Such November 13 people generally are not zealots who believe blindly, but optimists whose faith is based on seeing the world around them as living proof of the Spirit of God and the wonder of existence and of nature. November 13 people are nonetheless passionately convinced of their point of view. Though opposed to all forms of injustice, they themselves may express their opinion in a dogmatic or authoritarian manner. Thus, it is important that they make a conscious effort to listen openly to the opposing side, and whether they agree with what is said or not, take in what is useful to them. Above all, November 13 people are realists, and therefore, for the most part, immune to false schemes and dubious arguments. And those born on this day react strongly against any system they consider unworthy of their loyalty, whether it be a company, association, union, or a club. And because they can be outspoken, even argumentative in this respect, they should beware of a tendency to antagonize powerful people or make enemies. Cultivating modesty and simplicity is a key for them, as well as never forgetting their roots, no matter how far they find themselves from home, literally or figuratively. Well, all right. How about that for a pretty interesting breakdown there of a pretty interesting day. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought a commentator would apply to so many different people. And maybe it doesn't, but who's to say? Let's lead with the assumption that it does, and I'll dive in with some notes, provide a little bit of a commentary on what we just read. All right. So November 13, the day of the commentator. You're generally perceptive and insightful when commenting on our times. In the reading claims, you'll often make statements about what's going on around you that get attention. All right, that's pretty important. A lot of folks say whatever they say. Nobody cares, right? But they do with you, apparently. Probably a desirable quality and accomplished commentator, no doubt. That said, you're interested in everything, it said, which is huge, considering I get the impression that a lot of commentators aren't well read. All right, to say they seldom venture out of their lane for a more multifaceted, informed, general rounded knowledge, if you like. At least that's how it seems to me when I listen to a lot of these folks. I'll provide a commentary. But opinions are important in the field, arguably the most important when it comes to captivating an audience. But an informed opinion is worth its weight, okay? And at least in my mind. And the book claims you tend to have both, all right? An opinion and knowledge. So the information and opinion, if I lost you, that's it. But one problem, interestingly, may not be putting equal energy into self-development and understanding, all right? Self-knowledge, I'd be inclined to assume. But the word superficial, coupled with the mention of not coming off ground, and well, it lends me to think they mean what I mentioned, not well read. Though maybe that's not the case, but that's what it lets me think here. It's a little bit of a disconnect there. Maybe they're talking about two different sorts of people here. But too focused on a narrow field of scope there. The glitz and glitter are great for guilty pleasure, I would say, but substance is where the value is, at least I think. So you don't want to take on the calories of garbage chocolate if you have the chance at some Belgian, all right, for a metaphor. And believe me, okay, I know it's another level, the Belgian chocolate there. And we went to a marine ball where instead of having a cake, we had a big giant chocolate edifice in the shape of a cake. And let me tell you something, that thing was gone that night. And it just would melt on your tongue almost, it seemed like. So there's a difference. So yeah, forgo the garbage calories when you can have something of substance. All right. I think you get the point there. And try Belgian chocolate if you're in the market. That's right. Any events, what else does it say here? The highly evolved who internalize interests and synthesize it with the world around them. All right. That's right. That value add there. It's at that point that you're contributing also, I would argue, and giving a piece of yourself. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Not just off-gassing hot air, if you like. That's that glitz and glitter, that thing that captivates, but it doesn't provide any kind of value. Stay away from that, I would say, at least if you can there. Similarly, a reconciliation with beliefs is mentioned, and a synthesis with the rational and the spiritual through experience, again. It's something I myself can get behind, all right? What else did I have to say here? Moving on, here's the other page, but the reading warns of your opinion coming off dogmatic. That's right. And also authoritarian, and also warns of arousing antagonists and enemies. Okay, so cultivate modesty, I say. I know, I can't agree with that enough, as they say. Fully realizing that it doesn't necessarily translate into garnering the lion's share of interest that the glitz and glitter does. All right, that said, very interesting day with its specificity with regard to the commentator, and well-rounded in its consideration of as much, even though it was a rather narrow focus in and of itself to examine. But in any event, yeah, let's get on with moving on from the breakdown and on in to your numbers and your planets. That's right. That was a weird transition for me, maybe for you too. But in any event, your numbers and your planets. Those born on the 13th of the month are ruled by the number 4, as 1 plus 3 equals 4, and by the planet Uranus, which is both erratic and explosive. The connection between Uranus and Pluto, Scorpio's ruler, indicates a tendency on the part of November 13 people to play upsetting roles in the lives of others and a propensity for undergoing cataclysmic changes in their own lives. And although the number 13 is considered unlucky by many, it is rather a powerful number, which does carry the responsibility of using its power wisely, or running the risk of self-destruction. The number 4 traditionally represents rebellion, idiosyncratic beliefs, and a desire to change the rules, underlining those qualities of November 13 people mentioned earlier. All right, pretty highly personalized numbers and planets entry there. Sometimes not the case, but in any event, here what I have to say about your numbers and your planets. The number 4 and Uranus, or Uranus as I like to say it, for erratic and explosive tendencies and influences there, as well as an apparent influence in upsetting the lives of others, it said, and undergoing cataclysmic changes thanks to Pluto's influence. That's the first mention of that kind of thing within the numbers and planets, specifically on Uranus there. Or Uranus if you prefer. But 13 comes with a warning to use your powers wisely too, which seems apt if everything mentioned holds true. Okay, and considering the Pluto-Mars relationship for Scorpio incorporates darker influences. They didn't really mention that here, but it does, at least based on everything else I've read up to this point. it would be necessarily irrational to at least show some concern or some caution, if you like, with those talents of yours, considering how much seems staked on how much it seems staked in the seemingly negative focus. Them good commentators, right? They're just always negative. But you know what? Maybe throw in some positive too. You got the negative stuff in spades if in the Mars and the Pluto rulership holds true. And I know they didn't mention Mars, but that's a co-rulership there. So careful the anger and aggression too if you find that kind of gets into your life there. But in any event, that's been your numbers and your planets. So let's move on to your tarot. That's right, one of the more eclectic of the New Age or metaphysical ideologies, if you like. But hey, we don't have to take it home with us. Start dealing out cards to influence our commentation, you know what I'm saying? But hey, let's get into it. It's your birthday. Let's have some fun and expand our horizons. I said you like to know about everything, so here we go. The most misunderstood card in the tarot is the 13th card of the major arcana, Death. That's right, which is rarely to be taken literally, but signifies a letting go of the past in order to grow beyond limitations, metamorphically. From the tarot card, Death, in parentheticals, planetary influence of Pluto, the underworld god, it says in parentheticals, and the significance of the number 4. November 13 people can be vulnerable to melancholy and emotional hurt at a deep level. Interesting that they didn't mention Mars there, the god of war, I believe. In any event, they highly personalized this, well, I don't know about highly, but they personalized this tarot entry for you. And I don't remember Death ever getting a little personification, being individualized, if you like. In any event, what did I have to say here? In the commentator, if you like. Death! Exclamation point. A once a month card. Letting go of the past and growing beyond limitations metamorphically. Keep growing is what it said. Stay curious. I know it says you're curious. You like to know everything? Stay curious, all right? Evolve, add depth, and avoid the superficial, okay? Maybe be glitz and glitter to get going, all right? But do yourself and everyone else the service of providing value at some point. At least that's what I have to say. Especially if there's a predisposition for melancholy and emotional hurt because of old Pluto there. You can always lean in on providing value. All right, that's a mainstay. The world always needs it. At least that's what I would argue. All right, now there's your tarot, if you like. And let's move on to your health. All right, your health. November 13 people must beware of wearing themselves down through repeated expenditures of nervous energy. Keeping themselves on an even keel psychologically is only possible if they manage to find a calm place, both external and internal, to which they can retreat and get their act together. Many born this day can benefit from spiritual training, yoga, meditative processes, tai chi, or established religious practices at some point in their lives. Only moderate exercise is here recommended and highly competitive activities, for the most part, discouraged. A highly varied diet encompassing many cuisines and unusual foods is recommended, with dietary restrictions. With few dietary restrictions, rather. So what does that mean? All the Belgian chocolate you can handle, I would argue. That's right, because it's pretty expensive, so you're probably not going to be able to handle too much. All right, even. That's been your health. Let's get into the notes here, if you like. Beware wearing yourself down, all right? They say from expending nervous energy, and that's a first. I believe I've read that before in the health there. But they segue to psychological aspects as well, which is common with many Scorpios, and usually translate into physical maladies. So make sure you're in a good, even psychological keel there. Get your act together, as they said, in a nice, calm place. All right, that's not mentioned here in so many words, the psychological aspect. But it's good to be mindful of, especially if so many of your peers share that particular issue. What else do we have here? Spiritual training, moderate exercise, and varied diet are recommended. Few dietary restrictions, apparently. But competitive sport is discouraged, and you probably get enough of that mentally at the office, I would argue. The competition, I mean. And you know what? A lot of times they mention that for the folks with the Mars influence there, because that it helps foster that aggression. And you know what? You're there to get rid of some of that, not buttress it, right? In any event, hey, that's been your health. Let's move on to some advice. All right, your advice. Work on yourself. Find your center. And then forge a bond with the world. Remain aware of your effect. Remain aware of the effect, rather, that you have on others. Learn to listen at a deep level and be mindful of your involvements. All right. And what I have to say about your advice, I had to put it in the book itself because I ran out of space on the page there. Work on yourself and find center. All right. The Scorpio advice writ large. They usually use the word balance. All right. I don't think we've had balance in here at all, but you know what? It's a watchword for the Scorpios. It says forge a bond with the world. So synthesis. All right. Expand. Stay curious, like I said. Form that stronger bond. Okay. Remain aware of your effect on others. You know, you can't provide value if you're pushing folks away. Okay. Listen and let them lean themselves in. That's right. Learn to listen now. Mind your involvements. Oh, the other thing too, like a lot of commentators don't listen, and then you can't stand watching it. So if you're a commentator, listen. Yeah, but don't be a punching bag either. All right. You got to get your own, right? All right, mind your involvements. I'm not quite sure here, all right, but a lot of the other Scorpios get warnings to stay away from the occult, if you can believe it. Too many negative influences in general, and then you start putting those ones into it. Bad recipe, I imagine. But perhaps forming the wrong opinions based on others will get you off track. That's what I thought here. So take away the value add there. Throw everything else in the trash, if you like, with the garbage chocolate there. All right. And even that's been your advice. Let's move on to your meditation. All right, your meditation. Birds fly, fish swim, humans, ellipses. That's what it says there. Humans, ... All right, one more time. Birds fly, fish swim, humans. All right, that's been your meditation there. I'm not going to throw some spin on it or try to throw an interpretation of my own or commentary, if you like, on it. It's your birthday. It's just for you. Birds fly, fish swim, humans. That's right. Okay, there's your meditation. So let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror there. You said you're a rational individual. So let's see what we got to work on now. We're just what we possess. We probably heard it all in the read. I don't know. I don't look at that one so much. But let's see what you get. It provides a little bit of that excitement for me. All right. Your strengths and your weaknesses. Your strengths, you're involved, you're knowledgeable, and you're spiritual. Interesting. I didn't expect those. All right. But your weaknesses. All right. Let's hold up the other side of that objective mirror. You know, the one that blows your face up? Yeah, let's do the real work. All right. Your weaknesses. You're meddling. Oh, we could have guessed that one with the commentary there. You're upsetting. Equally, I would say there. And you're rebellious. Oh, how about that? All of those things with a typical commentator, I would say. Meddling, upsetting, and rebellious. Just don't let them get out of hand, right? Remember to cultivate that modesty there. I would say if these are real weaknesses of yours, that your strengths are going to help beat those back anytime there. That you're involved, knowledgeable, and you're spiritual. You cultivate a little modesty with an intention of putting a value add out there. You know what? The meddling, upsetting, rebellious. Even if there's still weaknesses and you haven't improved upon them, I think people are going to forgive them writ large because they know you're out there are doing the Lord's work, or so to speak. All right, there you go. That's your strengths and your weaknesses. Let's move on to those born on this day. I had to get my breath there. And when we get into those born on this day, not only we see who shares your company, but I like to segue into something I find important, and that's figuring out our passions. See, I get out in the world and on occasion there, and I meet folks, and I ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it. And a lot of times they don't. And I would argue that's because they just don't have the time to put into work to figure that out. And you know what? Who can blame them? You get out of school, you get into a job you don't necessarily like. It's just like the first one that came around, and you start climbing the corporate ladder within that job. It's a fundamental flaw there. So you started a job you don't like, and you just keep climbing because it's easy. You got it figured out, right? But then when you get home on the weekends, there's no time to figure out what you really want to do. And if you do know, maybe there's not a way to make it financially viable. But that being said, I think this is the perfect opportunity to rekindle the fires of that idea and figure out who was born on your day and maybe take what they did as a source of inspiration. Maybe not to inspire what you're going to do, but hey, just to know like, oh, that's what they did. They got put in the book. They got made famous somehow. Maybe just hearing all of that is going to stir up them fires for you there. So let's get into it, all right? Those born on this day. We have St. Augustine, or Augustine perhaps, depending upon how you want to pronounce it there, was a theologian, philosopher, and writer of the City of God. And he brought Christianity to England on the order of Pope Gregory. And he was born in 354 AD. And from what I remember, he was a pretty sinful individual before he found a religion. So it makes sense that the negative influences were at work there. Who else do we have here? Pelagius, St. Augustine's adversary, rather. Read it right. St. Augustine's adversary, born 354 AD. I guess he got made famous because he was somebody else's antagonist there. Interesting. We also have Robert Louis Stevenson, the Scottish poet, novelist of Treasure Island and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde fame. We also have Louis D. Brandeis, a U.S. Supreme Court Justice, and died at 85, it says. We also have Whoopi Goldberg, the comedian, film actress, and a TV host. We also have Edwin Booth, the 19th century stage actor and an idol, it says. That's the first one there. John Hammond, singer, blues guitarist, harmonica player, and son of John Henry Jr. We also have Hampton Hawes, a jazz pianist. Edward III, British 14th century king, and it says claimant to the French throne, initiated 100 Years' War. All right. We have Michael Gogh, a Belgian statistician, psychologist, astrological data researcher, and writer of Cosmic Clocks. It also says he committed suicide, sadly, there. The negative forces. I'm telling you, got to get around those. We have Gary Marshall, TV producer, film director of Pretty Woman. We also have Peter Arnett, the TV journalist. Jean Seberg, film actress. We have Virginia May Brown, an International Commerce Committee chairman. We have Charles Frederick Worth, an Anglo-French fashion designer. We also have Alexander Scourby, an actor, narrator, TV and radio voice. This one I'm not going to be able to pronounce. Shichi Kawasaki, Japanese banker, the Mitsu Trust president. We have Jean Rook, or Jean Rook perhaps, British columnist, George Carey, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and Linda Christian, a film actress. And that has been those born on this day, and that essentially rounds out your birthday read, except to say your season is fall, your sign once again is Scorpio, of the Scorpio III period specifically, and your quality and elements is fixed water. And what does that mean exactly? Well, not enough time here to explain all that, but there's other videos on the channel here that'll show you what that's all about too. In any event, this has been November 13th, the day of the commentator. And let me tell you what, pretty interesting day there. I don't know if you took any inspiration from those born on this day to help fuel your own fires, but hopefully me just mentioning as much puts the bug in your ear. That's right. In any event, like I said, this has been November 13th, the day of the commentator, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up a copy. Save yourself the trouble of typing it in the browser there. You dive in with all the other birthdays in the year, even February 29th there for the leap year day rather. Yeah, it's going to make a great coffee table or addition to your bookshelf, especially if you like to bring folks over for company. Get the ice broken in a literal or figurative fashion. That's right. But in any event, that's not what's important here. Like I said at the top, what's important here, wishing you a happy birthday. So once again, happy birthday, all right? For everyone else who joined us, though, I just want to say thanks for dropping by to celebrate, and I hope to see you for your birthday read. But lest we forget, before we take us out, your daily numbers. That's right, your 4 and your 2 for a 6. Hey, your day's in there too. It looked like you were the number 4 there. It's a little bit of synchronicity on that end. But in any event, hey, get out there. Let the universe show you it's with you on your path so you can see, taste, touch, and feel the magic. But even if you don't, at least you're expanding your horizons, trying to do something fun for your birthday, and getting your steps in. That's right, get a little bit of exercise. That's right. But once again, I just want to say, folks, happy birthday. Take care of yourselves, all right?